Hello, everyone. Um, I'm sure, like a lot of you, I watch a lot of YouTube. And watching YouTube, you end up going down the YouTube wormhole. And I recently did that. I started watching videos of people telling their horror stories working for certain companies, the main one being GameStop, Walmart being another one. And it kind of got me thinking maybe I should share my horror story, if you will, of working as a manager at Dollar General, another company that I've heard a lot of people complain about. So, to tell that story, we need to backtrack a little bit and add a little context. So, let's go back to 2008. I'm graduated high school. I got accepted to Davenport University. I started going to Davenport, and around this time, my bipolar disorder was not in check at all. I wasn't on medication. I was going through a really hard time. I was still doing good in college, but I just wasn't really sure that was the route I wanted to take. Well, around this time, I joined the band that I played in, and I was playing in the band, doing that. That took up pretty much all my free time other than school. Well, fast forward a little bit later, just going through the motions, I end up getting kicked out of school. That's could be a whole other story for a whole other time about Davenport. But anyway, I'm still um, living at home with my parents, and I'm not going to school. I'm playing in this band, which my parents were supportive of, but it's not an income. I needed to find a job or try to get into another school. Well, initially, I tried transferring to a community college. They accepted me. They wanted my transcripts from Davenport. Davenport refused to send them over. It was a big mess. Anyway, I didn't end up going back to school. So, kind of sitting around my parents' house, not doing much, playing on this band. I'm 19 at the time, and just trying to figure stuff out. Well, it's coming up on my 20th birthday, and my parents are kind of like, you need to find a job or get back into school or do something. I'm not going to say they were going to kick me out, but I needed to get it together. So, anyway, tried filling out all these applications, job interviews, the whole nine. Couldn't find a job, and we're getting down to like, you know, 2 minutes to midnight. It's getting real. So my buddy was working at the Dollar General in our town, and we grew up in a town of 1,200 people. There's two stoplights, the whole nine. We had a local grocery store that was family owned, but we didn't really have anything around us. So when Dollar General came in, it was very popular. It was a very busy place. So talk to my buddy, see if maybe you can put in a word. I need a job. It's getting pretty, pretty hairy. So he got me set up for an interview, and I got hired. Ecstatic, finally got a job, everything's good, blah blah blah. Now, when I first started working there, I started off as a cashier associate, started at the bottom. And the manager that hired me, Michelle, I was actually the last person she hired before she got transferred, because Michelle was a manager that they sent to problem stores that had a lot of shrink or theft, or stores that were underperforming. She would go there, and she was kind of the person that our region trusted to turn these stores around, because she was damn good at her job. Very, 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 very strong-willed. A lot of people didn't like her because she would tell you how it was. A lot of people, thought she was a bitch, but sweetheart of a lady. I owe a lot to her. She did a lot for me. But anyway, so normally she had been to multiple stores, but normally would only spend 6 months to a year and a half maybe if the store was really bad. But she was never supposed to be in a store for an extended period of time. Well, when I had gotten hired in, she had been at my store for I think almost 3 years. So that was kind of weird. Well, I got hired in March, beginning of March 2010. Um, and she was gone pretty quick. She was only there for about a month and a half after I got hired. We had a manager transfer from another store, and at first we butted heads. Wasn't a fan. And I think it's because myself and our management team, we were very loyal to Michelle. So we had somebody new come in, we kind of fought it, but after a while got to really sit down and give her a chance, and she was a sweetheart of a woman. Kind of reminded me of Shell. She did things her way, but things got done correctly. Take initiative, strong-willed, tell you how it is. I respect it. So I had been wanting to be promoted for a while, and by this point I'd been there for I think 6 months, and picking up every shift I could, never called in sick. Most of the time I was working 40, 45 hours, 50 hours sometimes, and with Dollar General, we didn't get paid overtime. We got paid hourly, so anything we worked over 40, no overtime. So by that point, my buddy had left, and we'd had managers shuffle in and out of there. We always had a high turnover rate. Our management team stayed pretty steady because we were pretty close and we looked out for each other. A couple would go here and there, but for the most part, management stayed pretty consistent. So I was trying to become a manager. I was doing everything I could, doing the whole song and dance. And finally got promoted to a key holder, MOD as they called it, manager on duty. I could open the store, close the store, do deposit runs. I'm the boss when the actual boss is there, kind of thing. So did that, got promoted. Everything was fine. I mean, you had your normal thing. It's customer service. It's going to be a pain in the ass sometime. But from the job perspective, everything was fine, copacetic. So fast forward, I'd say about a year and a half. So I'd been there for about 2 years at that point. And our districts kept getting shuffled around. So we would have district managers, and they would bring one in. They'd be there for a couple weeks, 6 weeks, 6, whatever. And then it would shuffle around. And it was like that for like 6 months. And our store, keep in mind, our store is in a town, 1,200 people. I know Dollar Generals are usually in places where there's not a lot of, access to the big box stores. It's a convenience factor, that kind of thing. Well, our store in our district, we were the second busiest store in our district. And at the time, our district had 16 stores, and there were some pretty busy stores in that district. We were number one for a while, but we were consistently second. $1 million store. Everything ran smooth. We got a district manager named Grace that she was good at her job from a corporate level, but as a human being, from what I experienced, maybe she's completely different, not at work. I don't know. I can only speak from dealing with her on a work level, but just not a very compassionate person. Just, it's this way. I care about the bottom line. And I get it, that's her job to a certain extent. I don't expect her to sit down and have a 3-hour conversation about me, about how my life's going, but Show a little bit of humanity, it goes a long way. Trust me. So, her and my boss, Chris, did not get along at all. Constantly butted heads, hated each other. Grace was trying to get Chris out of there so bad. And they would shuffle, like I said, they would shuffle our districts around. Well, for a while, we were under the control of a guy. I can't remember his name for the life of me. I met him maybe one time, but from what I heard from the general morale of the store, he was at least personable, or at least tolerable, or at least not a complete douche, for a lack of a better term. So they shuffle us around once again. This is about the third or fourth time they've done this, and we get Grace back. Now, we were all kind of on the fence. I don't know. I can't really speak for everybody on the perspective of if they thought they were going to get fired or what, but the morale was definitely low. And I know from my perspective, I kind of saw the writing on the wall. I wasn't going to do anything to blatantly get fired, but I kind of knew that, my time here is probably in short order. I was expecting it to come, I just didn't know when. Well, things just got progressively worse, and they got more nitpicky about just really trivial stuff. And the reason behind that was they pretty much sent Grace in there because, as I said before, Chris, she might not have done things necessarily to a T verbatim the way Dollar General wanted them done, but it still got done. Things still ran efficiently. Things still got done. We were still $1 million store year in and year out. Every year I was there, we were $1 million plus store. So there was really no reasoning. We were doing what we had to do. We were handling business. Everything was good. Seeing as that was the case, they had nothing on us. We didn't have anybody there that stole. We didn't have anybody there that, did anything that would remedy being fired. But they wanted to clean house because the way they looked at it was it didn't matter how good we were at our job. We worked under Chris, so we were toxic, and we just pretty much needed to get rid of, clean house, put our sheep in there. We'll get the ball rolling. Okay. So I'm a loudmouth. I will speak my mind. I will stand my ground. So I was very vocal about shit toward the end. And it's funny in retrospect because I don't know why I stuck around as long as I did, but maybe just to mess with them, I guess, to see how far they would, I'm still doing my job. I wasn't doing anything nefarious. I wasn't, but I would do certain things toward the end. I was a little petty. I will admit that, I would go in there. They had our policy was yellow polos, black pants. Couldn't be jeans. They had to be, Dockers or Dickies or whatever. We weren't allowed to wear shorts. In the middle of summer, 95 degrees, it's hot. Well, so I wore a pair of black shorts in there. Just little stupid stuff like that, nothing that affected my job, but, little things. Being the little, sarcastic, smart-ass punk kid at, 20, 21, 22 that I was. So Chris, I got fired in July of 2023. So it had to have been March of that year? April of that year? Sorry guys, it's kind of an off-the-cuff thing. I'm trying to just remember all this stuff. But I think April of that year, Chris finally decided she'd had enough. She's like, I'm not dealing with this. whatever. So she quit. So we were kind of in limbo there for a while. Well, they brought in, once again, another manager from another store that transferred from another store in our district. Her name was Misty. Misty and I did not get along off the jump because I knew why. I knew that they were putting a plant in there that would get the ball rolling and get their job done. I wasn't having it. I already knew that my time there was short. It could be today, could be tomorrow, could be a month from now, but I knew the writing was on the wall. It's going to happen eventually. I'm going to die on this hill kind of thing. So it just became a living hell to work there, honestly, and was trying to find another job. I didn't have anything lined up. I didn't want to just quit without having another job, but I was kind of just on the fence, just going through the motions, just trying to get through it. So one day I'm there with Misty, and which I thought was weird because I'd open and close that store hundreds of times. Don't know why she had to be there. Dollar General flew in a loss prevention manager from Goodlettsville, Tennessee. Bear in mind, I live in Michigan. Flew him in to investigate our little store for supposed bottle return fraud, was what they were trying to say. Pretty much what it was he was trying to go in there and dig up dirt and find anything and try to get somebody to say something wrong, or, you know, he was in there to just nitpick and, you know, try to get people to fold. I knew right away, I'm not falling for that shit. Sorry, I'm not doing it. So I may be a lot of things. I'm can be a dick, but I bust my ass at work. I do my job. I'm honest at work. No problems. He comes in, pulls me into the office, wants to talk to me about bottle slips because, you know, state of Michigan, 10 cents for a bottle return. They would bring in their bottles, which was a whole other thing. I probably should do another video just on horror stories of stuff I saw as a manager. Maybe we'll do that. But questioning me about that because you would do the bottle returns and it would print off a slip, and then you had to put the slip in your till and it would account for balancing out your till paperwork that I would have to do at the end of the night when I closed. Well, he tried to say that one of our cashiers was taking in, probably for a friend or whatever, you know, somebody would bring in, we'll say, $1 worth of bottles. Well, he would say that they brought in $2 worth of bottles or $3 worth, you know, whatever the case may be, and give them the extra money. So yeah, the till would be even, but when you would have to turn in, because we kept all the bottles in the back, and when the vendors would come in, such as Pepsi or, you know, Coca-Cola or whoever the case may be, the drivers would come in and collect those bottles, and then we would get credit for them. So while it might not show up on the till that you were short, $2, $5, whatever you did, it's not going to balance up when we have to settle with our reps. So he started questioning me about it, about if I, you know, since I was a manager, if I knew, or if, you know, blah, 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 this, that, and the other. And I said no. I said I had no knowledge of that happening. If it did, I apologize, but it's not like I was standing over the guy's shoulder saying, oh yeah, give him an extra $3, whatever. It's not what it was. Well, you know, when you work at a place, Dollar General, wherever it may be, and you're from a small town, you end up working with people that you went to school with, your friends. They're your friends outside of work. Like, it happens. You know. So I worked with a lot of, I got people in there all the time. My guitar player from my band, got him a job up there. He worked with me for a while. Um, just friends. I got in there, and because we were always losing people, turnaround was ridiculous as it is with every customer service position. So we constantly were shuffling people in. So I was bringing people in. They were good workers. I wasn't going to assign my name to somebody, that I thought was going to make me look bad. I gave them a shot, and they all did good. So he tried saying that, oh, well, you're friends with these people, so maybe that's going to cloud your judgment of, whether. And I'm like, let me stop you in your tracks right there. I don't care if I'm friends with them or not. I'm not going to put my ass on the line and lose my job because they decide to do something stupid. That's on them. That's not on me. You can yell at me for supposedly not doing my managerial duties and being attentive enough, but you're not going to put that on me, whether we're friends or not. If you had proof that I did something and I did it, by all means, I will be accountable for that. But I know I did nothing wrong. So, going back and forth, and I'm sitting in the office with this guy for, it was almost an hour and a half. I was getting pissed. So, finally get past that because he realizes that he's not going to get me to slip up and say something, whatever. So then he goes on to, well, there's been a lot of shrink at this store, which Dollar Generals all have shrink. All have shrink. And the shrink is not necessarily just theft. Yes, people shoplifting is a big part of shrink. But a lot of other things that go into shrink are, damaged products, outdated product that we have that would get rung up as a penny that we were supposed to throw in the dumpster that we couldn't sell to people for whatever frickin' reason. Even though they wanted to get rid of it, it was going to go in the dumpster anyway. Didn't want. So that was a constant argument with people. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. I'm sorry. So he starts bringing up shrink, and our store had shrink, but looking at the numbers compared to other stores, we were right in line with everybody else. It's not like, we had a massive amount of shrink compared to everybody else. No. So when we purchased stuff as employees, we were supposed to get a receipt printed up, initialed by a manager, tape it to whatever, your pop, your chips, whatever the hell you're going to eat, drink on break, whatever. Sit in the break room, which I always did. Unless you brought something from home that they didn't sell, that's different. But I did everything on the up and up like we were supposed to. And then he starts bringing up beef jerky for some reason. He says, well, you've ate beef jerky at work before, haven't you? Yeah, sometimes I have. Well, has there ever been a time that you've forgotten to pay for it? Absolutely not. Well, everybody does it from time to time, it gets busy. No, I'm going to shut you down now. Once again, no. Because I either get it at the beginning of my shift or I wait until there's an opportunity for me to do that. And I'm not going to consume anything or take anything into the break room before I pay for it. That's just asking for a whole bunch of shit that I don't want to deal with. I wouldn't do that. Well, every blah, 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 blah. And this continues on and on and on. Finally, he's got nothing on me, can't do nothing, whatever. By this point, I'm shaking mad. So I go up to Misty, and I tell her, I said, I'm going home. I said, I can't, I'm not. There's no way. So she sends me home, and I think it was about a week later, I want to say, is when I got fired. So the reasoning why I got fired: attempting to steal company time. was my reason for termination at Dollar General. Now, attempting to steal company time. The reason why this came up, okay. Now, I don't know if this is the same at every Dollar General. I'm assuming that at most Dollar Generals they have a system like this, or people do similar things, because it's almost unavoidable to get around this in the way they want you to do this. Okay. So when you're a manager, normally, at least with my store, you would have the manager, one cashier, maybe two. Generally, it was one. Or you would have somebody just stocking shelves in the back, because, you know, if you've ever been to a Dollar General, there's constantly these big-ass carts, rolltainers as they call it, or the blue carts, U-boats, on the floor, because they don't give the employees enough time to stock. They don't give us enough time to do anything. And, I mean, some of it can be laziness on the employees. I'm not saying it's completely their fault, but a lot of it is we want to get it on the shelf. We don't want to leave the stuff sitting in the aisles, but you got to work with what you're given. Anyway, so you'd have, you know, like I said, 2 to 3 people in the store. Now, as a cashier at Dollar General, they can't do anything. If they double scan an item, they can't take it off themselves. At least when I worked there. Like I said, everything is from the perspective of 12 years ago almost. It could change. It could have changed from then. Doubt it. So if they double scan an item, manager had to come in, put the key in the register, clear it. Price changes, us. Returns, us. Pretty much the cashier could only ring up items, take money, scan checks. Anything else, they were helpless. We had to do everything. So when we would go on our break, we had wireless phones that we would carry on us, because we were usually out on the floor doing planograms, moving stuff, doing this, doing that. So we were walking around the store, you know. So cashier would, you know, page us. We get a beep, go up, do whatever they needed us to do, go back to doing whatever we were doing. So when we would go on breaks, take the phone with us, and if you got paged, you had to go back in to do whatever they needed to do. And 99% of the time, it was just put the key in the register, hit a key, take it off, change this real quick. 5-10 seconds tops. So what was understood amongst us managers was that if you were on break and you got paged, unless it was something like a return or something that was going to take an excessive amount of time, you stayed off of the clock, put the key in, did it, went outside, had a cigarette, ate your food, did whatever you wanted to do. Because it was a catch-22. Because they wanted you to take your full break. Because they didn't want to... They wanted you to take your full break because they didn't want to pay you any more than they had to. But they also wanted you to clock back in if you had to come back in to do a price change, take off something that got double scanned, the whole nine. You can't do that, because I could say, we'll say that I took 1,000 lunches working there. Out of those 1,000 lunches as a manager, I can tell you honestly, I probably only had a handful of times where I did not get paged a single time. Single time. For something. Or a question. Or just anything. So, that was what we did. That was how we got around that. And at the end of the day, really, we're the ones losing. They're not losing in that. Because we're coming in to do whatever while we're still technically on our break. It's free labor for them. That's what I don't understand in this whole situation. I get it, it's policy, but you also make it impossible to follow said policy, so we find a way that we can somewhat adhere to this policy that you want, and it doesn't do any harm for you, but it. Anyway. So that's what we would do. And we all did it. Honestly, my first manager, Michelle, told us to do that. Chris told us to do that as well. They did it themselves. So, anyway. So I go into work. Grace is there. And right then I knew. I knew. I wasn't blindsided. I knew. I just wanted to see what they were going to try to say they could fire me on, because that was the only reason why I stuck around probably 6 months to 8 months longer than I probably should have, was because they had nothing on me to fire me. I go in, I sit down with Grace, very short conversation, and I wasn't even mad at that point. Honestly, I was glad. It was a relief. I stuck it out. I didn't give in. Whatever, we can go from there. So, that was the reasoning. Attempting to steal company time. Not stealing company time, attempting. So I guess. And she asked me too. She said, so do you, she asked, do you do this? I said, yes, I do. No reason to lie. Okay, well, you're fired. On what ground? Attempting to steal company. Okay. It's been real and it's been fun, but it ain't been real fun. Deuces. So, I go to leave. And I was like, I'm just going to walk out of here. I'm going to be an adult. Whatever. But as I go to walk out that door, I had to say something. Probably not the most mature thing, but I had to say something. So I turned around, I went right back to Misty, and I said, I'm not mad that you fired me. I'm mad at the roundabout punk bitch way you went about doing it. And of course, oh, I don't understand. And that's what she said too when I first got there. I said, why is Grace here? Well, I don't know why Grace is bullshit. You know why Grace is there. Don't play dumb. You at least owe me that to tell me what's going on. Be upfront and honest. So I walked out of there. I went home. I told my mom. I said, I'm sorry. I'm like, I got fired. And I explained the whole situation to her, and she was pissed off too. She didn't blame me. She said, nope. She said, you need to go up there and you need to ask for a copy of everything in your file. And I still had vacation time, which I didn't think they would give me, but my mom wanted me to, inquire about that. I knew it wasn't going to happen, so I didn't push the issue. But I went back up there, and by that point, Grace had left, Misty had left, and our assistant manager, Jill? I think her name was Jillian, if I remember correctly. I briefly worked with her, barely remember working with her. She was there, and she was one of Misty's little puppets, so, she played dumb about the whole situation too, even though I know damn well she knew what was going on. And I told her, I want a copy of everything in my file. Refused. I called a couple days later when she told me Misty would be there. Got told no. Cut the cord. By that point I had gotten fired, and literally within 24 hours I had another job. My buddy worked at a gas station in town. Found out about what happened to me. Told his boss, small town, she came into Dollar General all the time, she knew me. knew I was a good worker. She's like, yeah, that's bullshit. I'll hire you on right on the spot. You don't even have to fill out an app. No app, no interview, job. So yeah, I worked at Dollar General for 3.5 years. I was a manager on duty for, you know, almost 3 out of those 3.5 years. Do I hate Dollar General as a company? No. Do I think they do a lot of sketchy stuff and they're predatory and they come into these small communities and they just run out these family-owned businesses that, can't compete with that. It's destroying the demographic of small town America. Do I believe that? Yeah, I do. And it's more so, I'm not really mad at Dollar General. I think it's comical that they would spend that amount of money to investigate pretty much nothing, between flying up their loss prevention manager officer from Tennessee to paying Grace to come to our store multiple times to do this, that. I think it's comical that they spent that amount of money to investigate nothing. And I'm obviously, it's been 12 years now. I'm over it. It's funny to me now, but yeah, I wanted to share that story with you guys. Maybe a lot of you guys can relate if you've worked at Dollar General or a similar company. Maybe something's happened to you in those similar regards. So feel free to comment. Let me know. We can have a chat about it. Subscribe. Got more videos coming. Got the movie reviews. Got music reviews. Video games all coming up. Just trying to get everything going. All right, guys. Take care.